Greatest challenge.
And achievement.
Challenge or achievement? Well, look, I mean, I think a no-brainer. My greatest achievement would be my son, which is not really my achievement. It comes from Allah, but I think, having come from a family, like my parents divorced when I was quite young, when I was about 10 years old, and having come from that kind of environment, when I had my son and my ex-wife and I split, looking at him now and what we've tried to provide for him, that he is such a happy child. He's constantly smiling and happy and laughing, and we make sure not to let him feel like he always has that family unit. So in that sense, I think that is so far my greatest achievement, in just making sure that he is a content and happy child who feels secure. That's by far what it would be for me. My greatest challenge, I think I've already spoken about the divorce. I mean, for anybody, I think that's a very big challenge. It's, your world get turns upside down. But one of my most recent ones was in the beginning of last year, April of last year. I had to go for spinal surgery, and I developed what they call degenerative disc disease, and I sort of slowly started losing I couldn't really walk anymore. My discs had burst and my nerves were like shot and all that. So it was I had to go for surgery and fix it, and I learned to walk again after the operation and things like that. So that whole year was actually just getting a normal life back in that sense. So that taught me a lot more. So again, going back to my son, that I couldn't even pick him up, I couldn't play with him, and it just made me realize that we do a lot of things either out of leisure or out of chasing a goal, but we forget the small little things that we take for granted, like just running around with a 5-year-old. So I'm very cognizant of that now. Like I want to be able to run after him. I don't have to hobble after him like a 75-year-old when I'm in my 30s.
Just on a side note, the Instagram family day.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions, please
feel free.
Pop the question, and then we've got Aisha there on the other side just to
facilitate.
Okay. Let's go into your what are you doing at Rockamama's? Tell us about Rockamama's. What's exciting? Are we getting a cake?
I was waiting for that question. And I said, what? When they asked me that question, this partner, it's coming. It's coming. We're working on it. I knew I was going to get that question. So, yeah, I'm basically the brand manager for Rockamama's, and I essentially look after the way that the way that the brand's personality, the way that the brand is positioned and is grown and perceived and that type of thing in the market. Things like your traditional advertising around product development, menus, get involved with operational things, working with the operations team, and I think just in a sense building the brand, giving that personality and putting it out into a space in a way that's true to that brand. And I think, do a little sales pitch here, what I really enjoy about the brand and about Brian, who started the brand, is that the cornerstone of that brand and every touch point is grounded in being authentic and being open and honest about the way things happen and the way things are done. And he's never deviated from that. And that for me is a really big thing. When I first met him, before I took this sort of leap, I just finished reading the books of Simon Sinek, the Start With Why books. And it profoundly changed my life, the way I look at things. And when I met with Brian, he had also just finished reading it. So I think it just resonated from both aspects. That is something that we both believe very firmly in, and we make sure at every touch point to start from there. So that's in a nutshell what I look after at Rockham. It's a very exciting environment to be in, and I can't wait to bring my first halal one here, because then I don't have to fly to Joburg every time I want to have a burger.
So do you have timelines?
Not yet. We're still working on that. It's a case of landlords and the right site, and as you know, with the market we have, it has to be in the right place for it to be a successful business. And because the franchise environment, that's a key thing for us. As a franchisee needs to have a successful business and be able to drive that. So it needs to be, all those boxes need to be ticked before we can press play on something like that.
So it's very clear that you spend quite a bit of time in the gym.
Sometimes too much, but yes.
And I mean, for people like me, this Mahatma Gandhi look isn't working out. So I mean, what motivates you?
What works for you?
What motivates you to go and spend time in the gym and just be consistent? Because that's something I struggle with personally.
I think for me, it's become almost like just routine. Like I've been doing it since I was about 16 or 17 years old, and it's just become kind of habit. Like, at 5 to 8 you're reading Maghrib. For me, it's that I'm going to the gym. It's like that. It's just become that. But motivation used to be something different. It used to be when you were in school, you don't want to be the scrawniest guy. Because when I started actually going and training myself, I was going with my uncle to what was used to be known as cage fighting. And he brought me in, he said, I need to do this. And I went, and then he just disappeared somewhere. And then I carried on with it. And you can't really do that when you're the skinny, toothpick-looking guy in the room. So I started there, but I think it just stuck from there. But now I think it's very different, getting older and having gone through my back issue and stuff like that. For me right now, it's just about having a body that can carry you through, that works the way that it's supposed to work. And we all know that there's that saying where we were not born to sit behind desks all day, we were born to hike 20 miles and hunt saber-toothed tigers. So it's kind of just trying to use your body for what it was meant to be used for.
Is that your favorite quote?
No, not my favorite one.
So what's your favorite quote?
I've got more than one, I think, for different aspects of life. I think one of my favorite ones is Mark Twain's one, where he says, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day that you figure out why. And that why is what I'm still trying to figure out. But that's one of the very important ones for me. And there's actually one from the book of John in the Bible that I heard when I was in school, and till today it resonates for me because I think it applies to every aspect of every single one of our lives. And it says, "He who loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love." And it's just so simple, and it talks to every experience that we have in life.
Yeah, it sounds pretty universal as well. No?
Very, yeah. You can apply it wherever you want to. It'll fit.
Coming back to you, gymming, how do you manage in Ramadan?
To be honest, sometimes I don't actually even go in Ramadan. I think some people become a little bit obsessive in trying to just can't take that break. That break is there for a reason. And I remember last year I did a similar talk around the sort of some of the pitfalls around the fitness industry on 702 in Joburg, and it was around sort of a similar trend that you need to sometimes learn how to take a break and take a step back, and obsession can be a dangerous thing. So in Ramadan, it's there for other reasons, it's there for another purpose. I do still try and train as much as I can, but you can't expect to be do the same things because physically you're not fueling in kind of the same way. But so yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I just take a break and I don't worry too much about it. I think I've gotten over the fact that it has to be done every single day for me. It's as long as you're consistent in the long term, I think you see those kind of benefits.
And when do you gym? Day, morning, evening, afternoon?
Definitely in the evening. It's my time to unwind, and I'm way too lazy to go and do it in the morning. I will admit that very much. I do it sometimes, but it's usually when I can't sleep. I'm up but most of the time in the evening.
What is...
Look at me very funny when I said I'm lazy.
No, I'm saying lazy because I saw you went on a hike and you can't afford enough.
No, that's different. That's different. There's a view to look forward to. That I'll do every morning if I could.
What's your take on mentorship? Do you have any mentors?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think, I actually made a note about it because it was something that jumped out to me when you asked me about that. It took me back to the depression series that you guys did, where we first started sort of speaking. And I think that the idea of mentorship, the idea of a mentor, has changed over time when we've become more aware of the way that we engage with people. And I think before, a mentor was almost kind of do what I say, don't do what I do type of thing. It was almost very like kind of clear cut and dictatorship kind of thing. But I think now it's become more about teaching somebody else about your failures, not necessarily about your success, because that's where you've learned your lessons. And I think it's, it's not somebody that necessarily builds you. It's somebody that just shows you what you are capable of. It's not trying to make them who you are. Mm-hmm. It's like if you talk to like people who do sculptures, they'll tell you, I didn't create the sculpture, I just revealed what was underneath. And I think that for me is what mentorship is it's not trying to imprint yourself on somebody else. It's showing them what their value, what their capabilities, and who they really are.
So do you have any mentors that you look up to, that you want to model?
You know what, I honestly can't say that I do. I think, I like to think that it's my mature answer in the sense that I have to be my own person, and I have to bump my head along the way and sort of get there. I think there's values that I take from certain people, like I was speaking about Brian, who, like there's certain values that he lives by that I really can understand, and I would take some as my own. And obviously people in your family, like your parents, like your mother or your father, those type of things. I think my grandfather, if one thing I could take from him is that he's 85, I think now, 85, and he still works every single day as a mechanic. He's probably stronger than what I am when he's 85 years old. Is that he's one of those people that if he works and he earns 100 rand, he will go and spend that 100 rand. He doesn't believe in hoarding, essentially. He believes if I have it, I spend it and I use it. My risk will come again tomorrow. So I think that's a value I would love to be able to take from him, and it's very difficult for us at sort of this age. We were always trying to plan for retirement, plan for this, and he's just, if I have it, I'm going to use it. I don't know if I'm going to have it tomorrow.
Would you confide in, or is there perhaps a happy place that you go to when you face with difficulty?
Confide in, definitely my dad.
Okay.
And I think he's also been through a lot in his life, and I think he can relate to a lot of the things that I go to him with, and I'm very fortunate to still sort of have him around. So definitely him. And from a friend point of view, I'm not somebody that has a whole conglomerate of friends, but a friend of mine, Chiam, that lives here in Cape Town, I think she's probably the one that I would pick up the phone and phone if I had some kind of difficulty, some kind of challenge, or, like you say, needed to confide in somebody. I am somebody that believes you should open up to conversations like that, and not because you're a man, you shouldn't do that kind of thing. I think Brother Jacob and I spoke about that when he did his depression series. It was quite a topic back then. So I'm very open to confiding in people and understanding that we are stronger as communities than we are as one person.
Okay. So, do you have any tips that you can maybe give us? I mean, we all want to live a contented life. Mm-hmm. And you've been through quite a bit. Do you have any sort of guidance or tips for us?
I think, I remember when first I'd probably quantify it ahead of time by saying I think contentment is something that you need to decide for yourself what it is, because it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Everybody has different value systems. For somebody it might be success, for somebody it might be family, for somebody it might be a marriage. So I think, everybody needs to kind of decide what that value system is for you. But I always, when I went through my divorce, I remember sitting in the mosque in Greenside reading Asr after work, and it was a very sort of tumultuous time going through all of that. And I remember standing there reading my salah, and I had this thought, because one of the surahs that I always like to read is Al-Nashra. And I remember standing there and realizing, with everything going on, unless somebody comes up to me right now and puts a gun to my head and pulls the trigger, this is not going to kill me. I'll get over that hill and I'll be here afterwards. So it might not sound profound, but it really changed me. And it reminds me of that: with every difficulty there is relief. And I think that's something people talk about a lot, but it's very difficult to sometimes put it into practice. So that for me is where I could find, or say people could find, contentment, is that finding things in your everyday life that can bring you that happiness. It's a build-up of things. It's micro experiences that build up a happy and contented life. It's not like this one goal that you will have to achieve, that you peg all of your happiness and contentment on. That once you get to that point, once you've reached that item, then you content. I think it builds up over time. And those are the small things that we need to value a lot more than just trying to climb that one mountain.
Indeed. Aaron, what are you most grateful for today?
I think probably my health. I was having a conversation with my sister this evening, actually. She's been, going through a few difficult couple of weeks. She's not been feeling well and things like that. And she got some test results and stuff back today. And we had this conversation that we take a lot of things for granted. We go through life thinking and the CEO of Discovery, Adrian Gore, when I worked there, I remember him saying this, is the problem with people is we think we're going to live forever. And the first thing that makes us realize we're not is when our health is not there. So I think if I was grateful for one thing, it would be the fact that I'm healthy. Knowing what I went through last year, it's like a new lease on life. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter anything else that you have. You can have the money, you can have the job, you can have the success, you can have the family, all of that stuff. But if you don't have your health, then you can't experience any of it. I would, hands down, say health.
So let's just chat about you obviously born in Johannesburg, you worked there, and now 6 to 8 months ago you moved to Cape Town.
Yeah. It's actually my second time living in Cape Town.
Yeah. Tell us about that. How is Cape Town different to Johannesburg? And let's just chat on a high level. And how are you managing? You mentioned you got a couple of friends here. Why only a couple? Not a lot.
So yes, Joburg and Cape Town are two very different places. Obviously, apart from the obvious one being that it's a lot faster in Joburg than what it is here, which is why I prefer it here. Joburg was just too fast for me. But I think that Joburg has had this idea that people in Cape Town are cliquey. And you are. It's a reality. It is. And I think that's why, like you say, I've got a couple of friends, and a lot of them pretty much from my workplace. I think, when you're younger and you go through school and you go through university and you're part and parcel of a community growing up and you go through those different stages, you build up friendships and you build up things like, I still have friends that I knew when I was in primary school and high school now in Johannesburg. But here, moving down here as sort of one person in your mid-30s, it's very difficult to integrate into a community when you don't know anybody and you don't have those kind of sort of past experiences to draw from. So it is very difficult, and it's something that I really actively want to sort of change, and that's why you and I have been speaking quite a lot. I think I digress. I want to come back to Cape Town and Joburg, but it's. I think we all know if you want to go, if you want the money and that kind of thing, you go to Joburg.
Yeah. That's
just the way it is. But I'm after something more important to me, and that's quality of life, like being able to go for a hike up a mountain. You don't get my son. I think it's important for him, because I don't want him to grow up in a place where you're just being fed into the same system and just running in this rat race where there's nothing else that you can experience. I do believe that Cape Town's a better place to raise him than Joburg would be. The only thing I miss about Joburg is family, not the place really.
Cool. Do you have a question? Do we have questions, sir?
No, we don't have any questions yet. We have a comment from me though. Someone seems to be doing very well on your person.
Well done.
So Amir, go.
Right away.
So tell us, what do you think about when you're alone in your car?
I'm glad you said the car.
I think he's asking that question because sometimes you pop up a.
I do a lot of my recordings and stuff in the car.
Yeah.
I think lately a lot of it is about this message that through Tsaheylu that I want to bring across. Is a lot of it is me thinking about how can I bring that message across to more people. It's like, in real situations, real meaningful conversations face to face, how do I get into that space? Because ultimately it's something I do want to do a lot more of and a lot more in depth. I feel I can give value to a community, and like our community specifically, and it helps me to also, like I said, find my own happiness, because I feel like I can garner that from imparting it to other people. So a lot of my time is just thinking about what the things I want to talk about, what happened during my day, how did I feel about it, what messages can I take from it. I mean, my drive home is kind of like 7 minutes, so I only have to think about it. So.
Okay, and to our viewers and to everyone who's watching, if there was one thing you want them to take from this conversation, what would it be?
I think, I think we've, like the channels that we're using now through Instagram, through Facebook, through all of those kind of things, I think we all understand that we are in a very different time to the time that our parents grew up in. And when I think about the depression series that you did, and one of the conversations that I had with Jakub, is there's a lot of presuppositions in society, and that I think we need to sort of break down. And us as a Muslim community, we are growing up in a time that our previous generations didn't grow up in, a more inclusive time. And there are people in the world now that we can draw inspiration from that are not necessarily of the same faith or same creed. And I think we've become a lot more open-minded to being able to do that. So I think if I had to give one sort of valuable piece of advice for me, is that don't live your life by the perception of other people. If things that you find value in are different to what your parents or your grandparents used to, different to the way that they used to live their life, then it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Yes, there's pitfalls around using social media for the wrong type of things. But I do believe that through channels like this, we can use it for a very powerful purpose. And when I say pitfalls, it's that we know that there's things like social media addiction. There's a lot of people get hung up on likes and followers, and you put your self-worth into that device. But I think if we can really work on forming meaningful bonds with people through the conversations that we create, I think it can eliminate a lot of the angst and stuff that we find in society. And it's all about opening up conversations. It's all about just connecting with people. And that's what Tsaheylu means. It's the bond.
I was going to ask you about your podcast.
Yeah.
So Tsaheylu, what's it?
Tsaheylu. So it basically comes from, if anybody's seen the movie Avatar by James Cameron, there's a language in that movie. It's not a real language.
Okay. But
the word Tsaheylu means to seal the bond. And when I was thinking of trying to make these connections and open up conversations, it fitted perfectly for me. It just encapsulated every bond that we have, whether we have a relationship with ourselves, whether we have a relationship with a friend or a spouse or with our work, there's connections that we have all along the spectrum, and it just fitted really well for me.
So how's your podcast journey going? To adventure.
It's going. I'm figuring it out as I'm going along. I think I've done 3 episodes now. I recorded a 4th one last night. I think I've always been more comfortable with my voice than being in front of a camera, so it helps in that way. But I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's nice to open up, conversations and being able to capture it through authentic experience or conversation.
So Ajay, we have a question?
2 questions.
Yes.
Good.
Okay, so obviously you can use the discussion about whether you want to answer it or not. The first one is, what is the best and worst choice that you've made in your life so far?
Best and worst choice.
Sure.
Maybe start with worst.
Let's see.
That's deep.
That is deep, eh? Yeah, it's like a thick guitar there. My best choice. I think actually my best choice was the decision to move back down to
I was
Cape
going
Town.
to say that.
And not just because it's Cape Town, because I realized last year going through I was diagnosed with a depression last year, and going through that and seeing a psychologist, the decision to move back down to Cape Town, closer to my son, and to a place that I felt was better for me, was grounded in that I needed to put myself first. My own well-being, mental, physical, all that well-being, I had to put that first. And I think I'm probably in a better space now than I've been in the last 3 years. So I do think moving back down here was one of the best decisions that I've made. And, worst decisions, I don't know if I would call it a bad decision. The timing probably wasn't perfect, but I learned a lot from it. I was working for Discovery, I think it was 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And I was doing photography and graphic design on the side, freelancing. And I decided I'm going to do Eat, Pray, Love. I'm going to go and just go all in. So I left my job. I booked a ticket to India. I went to India. I walked around.
Where was
This is 2013.
How long did it last?
The intention was to go there, have this experience, and come back and do my photography and stuff sort of full time. So I did that, and when I got back, I was feeling a bit I was back for about 2 weeks, and I was feeling a bit fluish. So I quit my job already, and I was, whatever people I knew, connection, I was working on that. So myself and my ex-wife weren't feeling too well. We went to the doctor. Doctor turns around and says, you're pregnant, right? So I was like, ooh, about that job, eh? And it was,
the timing.
Timing wasn't great, but like I said, I don't know if I'd call it the worst decision, but I think the timing was as bad, because I learned a lot about myself. And Shukr, when my son was born, I spent the first sort of 5 months at home with him when I worked from home. And that's something I would never have gotten otherwise. So
it's actually good.
I kind of went really left field there. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the second question, I'm just going to rephrase it a little bit.
Okay.
So the person is asking basically about Islam in Joburg in comparison to Cape Town. So is it different, and how is it different?
Sure.
There is a difference, and I think it stems from that here there's obviously a big Malay community in Cape Town. My family is sort of a mix of both. But in Johannesburg, it's the larger contingent is an Indian community, and there's cultural differences there as well. So you'd probably see a closer link between Joburg and maybe an area like Islands, for example, where, as I understand, there's more of a Indian-based Muslim community. And it's not like you practice a different Islam, depending on where you are, but the cultural differences are quite, evident. My mother is originally from Cape Town, from the Strand. So when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in Cape Town. And so I kind of got the best of both worlds in a way. As I was growing up, I grew up around predominantly Indian Muslims. So it's really a question of difference in Deane. But yeah, I think
Cool.
the Indian community is probably just a bit more strict in like the way they do things.
Cool. One more question?
Okay, so what was your greatest obstacle on your road to being able to do a 1 minute handstand? And then the next comment is, I assume you can do one.
Okay, firstly, yes.
Well, for the viewers, we're gonna ask Adam to actually do a handstand.
Oh, well, what the hell, why not? So yeah, okay, yes I can, and my journey there was a very long and painful journey. I get a lot of questions around how to do those kind of things, how to train like that, how long does it take, what does it involve, and my default answer has become to a lot of people is, if you're willing to fall down on your face enough times, then you're fine, you'll get there. But if you're not willing to experience that kind of pain, then and I say pain because it's real. I mean, you asked me, well, what was the weirdest question you got asked in the gym? And the one was like I was still learning how to do a handstand, and I used to fall over all the time. And the one day I fell over and hit my face flat into the floor, and I opened myself up here. And I was like, did that hurt? I was like, no, it didn't hurt. It was like candy floss and Egyptian goose feathers. That's why it's bleeding. So it does take time. It takes practice. But in a nutshell, I believe I enjoy it because it teaches me how to use my body in different ways, and it's something more fun. I just find it more fun learning how to do different things.
I've just got a couple of more questions.
Shoot.
If you think of today's youth, what concerns you?
I think we're part of legacy in many ways. That what I said earlier, we were raised by parents and grandparents that basically they didn't have the internet to start off with, and I had this conversation with my ex-wife about my son and about social media, that it's not going anywhere. And we want to protect them. We want to keep them away from these things, but we can't. It's the world that they're going to grow up in. We need to understand it ourselves first so that we can teach them how to navigate these spaces. So I think, because when I said we're about legacy, is we've taken the way we've been raised by our parents and our grandparents, and we can't implement that same thinking with our children because it's a different world altogether. The last 15 years has changed the world 360 degrees. It's a completely different place. And I think our youth are feeling isolated in a way. And I can attest to it because, like I said, the fact that I've struggled to integrate myself. I can only imagine how an impressionable youngster feels in that space. So they turn to a social media or whatever to get that kind of validation. And it's not that they don't know how to talk to people in real life. It's not that they don't want to. It's that it's just the way the world has changed. So I think it's kind of up to us to bring them sort of back from that and to show them how to safely navigate those kind of spaces. Because I do believe that they are going to change the world. You had Zarif yesterday in Joburg. Look what he's achieved.
Yeah.
And so I do believe there's so much good that they can achieve if we can guide them in the right direction.
For sure. Amir?
Yeah, are we close to the end?
Yes.
Yeah, we are. Okay, cool. So, one of the funniest things that happened to you recently?
Funniest. So, just so you know, I don't always pull it off and I don't always look cool. I was in Canal Walk a couple of weeks ago. I went there for something after work and I said, okay, I'm just going to have supper at the Kauai there. And I don't know what I was doing. I got my meal or whatever and I was put it down on the table and I was busy with something on my phone and I sat down and there was no chair behind me. I'd missed the chair completely and it was full. And I'm clutching it, I'm going down, the phone is there and I ended up flat on the floor in the middle of the shop. And I was just like, I'm just going to lay here for a while. I'm just going to park here. So, and it wasn't my finest moment, definitely not.
So I forgot to ask this question. Do you have a favorite Quranic story or verse? I know you mentioned Alam Nashrah. Is that it?
Yeah, I think it's that, but also more from, like I said, I think it's applicable to every single thing that we face. But I also feel like I wrote it down here. Where did I write it down? Well, Surah Baqarah, I think it's 286. I mean, we've all heard it, is that Allah will not give us a burden we don't have the strength to bear. And I think it's important because we all, and this is something that I'm a big advocate of, is in anything that I put across, is to be completely candid and open about everything. I don't have any skeletons that I feel like I need to hide, because everybody has things that go on in their lives. Everybody has challenges and trials and tribulations. But we all, whatever it is, you're still here. You will not be given something that you cannot handle. It all depends on our outlook, where our faith sits, and whether we believe that something is actually a test to make us stronger. There's also that quote that says, everybody gets broken, but some people are stronger in the broken places.
Wow, okay. So, what is the next big thing for Adam Deane?
I think I'm on the next big thing already. The Tsaheylu is definitely I'm hoping it will be my swan song. I don't think there is any one thing. I think I just want to leave the world better than what I found it, type of thing. I just want to give people guidance where I can, positivity where I can, and I think in one sentence, I want to, moving down here, I want to entrench myself within the community, because there's, I read a lot of like business books and stuff like that, and Warren Buffett, who's probably the most successful businessman in the world, he says success is defined by the amount of people that you love that love you back, not by the amount of money that you have. And that's something I want to strive for.
Sure.
Yeah, that is deep.
That's deep, like a kick down.
I'm never going to live this down.
Actually, I have a question there.
Yes, so this is for me then.
Oh,
Okay.
a question from Aisha.
This is my defining accident to Muslim question.
Okay.
Do you take pineapple on pizza or not?
I don't.
No pineapple on pizza.
I made that comment last week in the video.
But have you tried it before?
I have tried it. I don't do sweet and sour.
Is it?
No.
Okay. Is that? My battery's dying. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you done. Thank you, Adam. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything you want to say? Is there anything that you want us to ask you, or that we haven't asked you?
No, not really. I think it's just, live with humility, live with compassion, and pay attention to your self-acceptance. It's going to take you so far. We just need to learn to be decent human beings. I think that's the moral of the story. Doesn't matter anything else. If you can be a decent human being and you can be compassionate towards other people and be respectful and treat other people with love, I think we can eliminate 90% of the ills of the world.
Definitely.
After that.
So, thank you. All the best with your one hand stands and your hiking and your...
I'm glad your battery's going to die because I don't have to do the handstand.
And yeah, all the best with the podcast as well.
Shukran.
So, inshallah, we're going to have a photo meetup on the 17th of Feb.
Okay.
Hopefully you can join us.
Yeah, I'll bring my little one with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Shukran, thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Well done.